Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pod TV's #1 advocate show, Timeshare Solution or Surrender with Irene Parker, where Irene provides do-it-yourself advocate solutions to help people fix the problems they have with timeshares, or if they have been scammed into a timeshare, help them get out of the timeshare, or the worst problem yet that we have uncovered, the timeshare exit companies. And Irene Parker has all the knowledge in the world about all the timeshare companies out there, and she understands majority of what is a scam and what isn't a scam. And you know what? Sometimes we even have happy stories, not just the real life horror stories. But everyone, I want to welcome my hero in all of this, Irene Parker. Hi, Irene.
Hi, Kim, but it would be impossible for one person to have talked to 3,000 timeshare members since 2016. So we have a board of directors, 8 people. We're adding one more. We formed our nonprofit, Timeshare and Resort Developer Accountability, in 2019. The other thing is words matter. So rather than say get you out of your timeshare, we prefer to say dispute resolution. And we're not attorneys, as our disclaimer. There's some radio shows that are listening. So this is for education only, and it's not for legal advice. So for legal advice, consult your attorney. And we always welcome attorneys who are on the show. We've had Howard Prosnetz, who is the lead attorney in a class action against Wyndham, 2 class actions at least. And we had attorney Mike Finn on last week, who had a lot to say about timeshare exit companies. So today, our guest is Donnie in Oklahoma. If we could introduce Donnie. And Donnie was last week, we heard from Glenda. Glenda paid $22,500 to, they all sound alike, Consumer Protection Network, something like that. And then we had Consumer Law Protection, that is, they actually took money from someone who worked as an investigator for the New York Attorney General. And so now we have Donnie has been spent money for no reason with Corporate Consulting Associates. And later on, we're going to later on the show, we'll have you post that, if we have time, that Better Business Bureau report. And there is a warning about that the Better Business Bureau posted about a number of exit companies. And what I was shocked when I went to Timeshare Users Group, which is a great resource for timeshare owners. And I trust this research because it was posted by Tug's review team. As the others have said, Corporate Consulting Associates is a Wyoming entity established in 2007. That sounds like the right place, doesn't it, Donnie?
In hindsight, not so much.
Okay, it says they create fake user profiles and post fake reviews. The owner, Jeffrey Heath Shaver, posed as a happy customer on another thread. Now he searches out another and tries it using a different username. But as scammers aren't usually the brightest, he used the corporate email address upon signing up. It was right for the BBB to post a warning. The Better Business Bureau report doesn't even mention Corporate Consulting Associates, so he must have tracked down the registration. But what the Better Business Bureau article does show is out of 700 timeshare complaints over 3 years, 350 are out of Springfield, Missouri. And in that article, they talked about Relief Solutions International, Escape Resolutions that are affiliated with CCS Closing. I've had run-ins with them. And then we had the Vacation Consulting Services affiliated with the Transfer Group. I mean, it's just out of control. Now, what we're trying to say is that it's kind of the pot calling the kettle black. So what we're hoping someday the developers will realize is that they have created this mess. I've said over and over that if I want to sell the condo or the home I'm living in, there's no exit scam industry. The deliberate suppression of the secondary market is what created this mess. So I've asked Gary Hardin to be a guest. Gary has been a guest on our show before. There's Gary. He's in Colorado. And we are have asked him because he's a Wyndham owner for a long time. And I've also asked Joan Miller on, who's been a past guest of ours. Hi, Joan. Hi, Gary. And Joan, like Donnie, both bought from Blue Green. Joan and Gary have been timeshare members, owners for many, many years. And when someone writes it, we don't want this show to be just a poison the well show. We want to be proactive about what are the next steps that Donnie can take, what anyone can take. And so Donnie sent me a report that he sent to Blue Green, and there were, I think, maybe 10 complaints. And I said 3 of them, I just don't think are much of a complaint. Of the 5 remaining, I didn't think 3 was much of a complaint either because they're industry wide. And so I've asked Donnie and Joan to be on the show to kind of listen to Donnie and his report when we get to that part. But because we are, there's Nick chatting in, and so he knows that I read the disclaimer for our radio fans. So, but we want to focus on, since we're following up from the last show where another exit company, someone paid $22,500 for nothing. And they're so good. They're so slick when you challenge them. And so, Donnie, I'd like for you to go ahead and start with how did you respond to this company? Did they contact you? Did you go to the internet? How did you end up with them?
They sent out a random text, and it didn't even list who they were. All the text said was, "Hey, there's some important legal updates concerning Blue Green. This is not a chance to buy more points, and click this link to set up your time at this hotel to come talk and hear about these legal updates towards Blue Green." That's all it said. It didn't even say that it wasn't from Blue Green. So we're like, well, there's important legal updates evidently, so let's do this. So I clicked on the time and link, and I go to this hotel, and they basically just said, yeah, hey, there's been some legal cases towards Blue Green, and you can, we can dissolve your contract, is exactly what they said.
Wait a minute. What did they mention? Any specifics about the legal cases?
They really didn't cite a whole lot of things. They just, and to tie in with that, they said, well, this actually happened around COVID, but with COVID, clearing up or, tying up a lot of court cases weren't happening in COVID. We're just now being able to tell you about this. And so they go into this spiel, and they're like, hey, did you know that, Hilton is buying Blue Green, and now that anyone can own, and not anyone can own, but anyone can reserve a spot. And we're like, no. And we were told, if you buy Blue Green, you're an owner and you're like family, and only owners can can rent here. And we're like, okay, we weren't told that. Then they go in their spiel and they said, hey, did you know that if you die or whatever, your burden of maintenance fees and if you sell on a loan is going to go to your children.
Well, let me stop you. I'm gonna jump in and interrupt you when there's an important point that we want to, pun intended, that they're famous for half truths. So there was a major lawsuit, Bass Pro sued, when you go to Bass Pro, they've got bird dogs trying to get you to go to those meetings. And basically the lawsuit was basically that Bass Pro got cheated out of some commissions. So it's a half truth that there were lawsuits. There are still lawsuits. They were sued, accused of violating the Military Lending Act, but that had nothing to do with being able to dissolve. The other thing is the half truth about your heirs inheriting the timeshare. That I'm aware of Hickory Resort in Mississippi that never forecloses, according to an attorney, hoping that your kids will not know that they can disclaim the inheritance, whether it's a timeshare, and you have to talk to your probate attorney or your estate planning attorney to do that. But now, okay, so you show up at the meeting, and did they know anything about you?
Oh yeah, there was about 5 couples there, somewhere around 5 couples. They knew us all by names. They knew exactly, like my wife and I, we had a loan with Blue Green still going on. They knew that. They knew the other couples had already paid theirs off. They even gave us a sheet of paper that listed how much we paid or we were supposed to pay in maintenance fees, or that we had just paid. And they broke down this little breakout and said, well, if it goes up like with inflation 6% each year, look, your fees were like X amount of dollars now, and 10 years from now they're going to be double X dollars. And are you going to be able to afford that? And so they knew a lot of stuff about everyone because they called us off by name, because in the text every deeded owner had to also be present. That was one of their things. They said all deed owners have to be present for this meeting. Again, they never said who they were on the text when they sent that out. So we didn't even know that they weren't Blue Green. We just were told it was important legal updates about Blue Green.
Well, and then we have Consumer Law Protection that is not a law firm in Peevely, Missouri. And we have Encore Law that is not a law firm. And Glenda, who was on the show last week, the same thing about the air scare. Every Halloween, I usually publish an air scare article. And also Encore Law, the similarity of writing a letter. So when did you, from the day that you attended that meeting, when did you pay them, and how much did you pay them for what?
We paid them that night $8,900. And we were told, you are going to be set up with a lawyer firm that will be turnkey, and which means, and we will, and the terms used was dissolve contract. And so we paid that night, and they said, you will be gotten a hold of with somebody within like 14 days. Someone will contact you. And we did get an email, and we were tied up. We were paired up with a lawyer called RB and T Associates, or Thompson Associates. I think they're out of New Jersey. They sent us a letter and said, hey, here's a questionnaire. We want you to fill this out, and then we want you to return it. And then we had to draft our own letter. So we drafted our own demand letter of being let out of this contract. We sent it to them. They prettied it up with some other, better, I wouldn't say terminology, but just cleaned it up a bit. And then they basically said, okay, go ahead and send it off.
Well, let me go ahead and jump in with Terry McCain has just texted us. Why are timeshares allowed to do this, and who allows the exit companies to be in business? And as I said, the timeshare industry lobby, ARDA, not to be confused with, has a responsible exit website, makes it look like there's no problem, anyone can get out. But there are many that have no exit. So desperate people, what do we do when we have a problem and we call Blue Green or Wyndham or Hilton and they say, too bad you signed a contract? We turn to the internet for help. And then why are the timeshares allowed to do this? Well, the timeshares are allowed to do this because of the oral representation clause. Attorney Mike Finn, who was on last week, terms a license to lie clause. So that's why we're hoping to do everything we can to expose this. Okay, so now you attended a meeting, you paid $89.99, $8,999 that night. You were referred to, I think Thompson's an associate is the law firm, and then you sent the letter to Blue Green?
Yes. Yep. Well, so to go back also at the meeting, we were told, do not pay anymore. And even couples who had already paid theirs off, they told them, they said, do not pay your maintenance fees when it comes up. And that just took me and my wife by surprise, because we're like, wow, we've never quit paying on anything that we've signed a contract for, but we're being told you're going to be represented by a lawyer, so this is what you need to do. So we quit paying. We wrote the letter. We sent it off to them in January. We quit paying. I think February we may have made the payment. I can't remember. But we started getting, of course, the 30-day notice, you're late, 60-day notice, 90-day notice. And so sometime in June, I contacted the lawyer, and I'm like, hey, we haven't heard anything. And they're like, yeah, okay. But we got the final notice of, hey, you better pay this, or, bad stuff could happen, and from Blue Green. And so I called the lawyers, and they're like, well, submit a Better Business Bureau complaint, and we're going to help you do that. So they helped us do this Better Business Bureau complaint. And it was basically, all they wanted was the copy and paste of our dissolution letter that we sent to Blue Green. And then Blue Green responded like within that same day or the next day, and they said, nope, we don't recognize any of these problems. Oh, by the way, as of the 12th of June, Mr. and Mrs. Pyatt are no longer owners. We have taken their account, put it in a charge-off status. They're still responsible for the promissory note, and they're no longer owners. And
Well,
so I'm sorry.
But the problem is that a legitimate law firm would have sent the letter from their office.
Right.
What law firm would ever have, because you use your return address, correct?
Oh, yeah. Because it came from us, yeah.
Yeah, so the same thing with Encore Law, that she paid them $12,000 to send one letter using her return address. So the only response, you really got no response from Blue Green. You just started getting past due notices.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
They never sent us a formal letter of saying, no, we don't see this, and no, we're not. And we definitely didn't get a dissolution of contract. We did not get that we were told at the meeting with, corporate consultants, or, and so it was just frustrating because, we definitely didn't get what we were told we were going to get for $8,900. We didn't even get a fraction of that.
And then what is your current, when did you pay them the money?
That night.
Yeah, but when was that?
Back in December of 2023.
December of 2023. So it's been 8 months since you paid them. Mm-hmm. And what has been the effect on your credit score?
So my wife's credit has dropped close to 200 points. Mine has dropped probably close to 120 to 50 points, somewhere in there. And then, of course, with this whole, we were also told, oh, don't worry about your credit. You're also going to be married up with credit repair experts, and they're going to help your credit. So they matched us up real quick with them. And if I'm not mistaken, they're in the same town as Thompson Associates, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the same building. Actually, I don't know that. Um, but anyway, so they sent some letters off to Experian. We sent letters off to Experian, and basically a dispute saying, "Hey, this isn't, you know." And Experian responded just here recently and said, "Nope, we've contacted Blue Green, and they said that's exactly what should be on your report. So that's what it's staying. There's no change."
Okay, so going forward, um, the Thompson Associates did some work,
Hmm.
but the problem is you don't have to pay anyone to default. So I will be following up with attorney Mike Finn, who was on last week, because he and another attorney, not in his firm, both suggested that the person that paid Encore Law file a bar complaint. Now, in that case, it was for practicing law, unauthorized practice of law. But in your case, they are a legitimate law firm. But what happens is they're called in the lawsuit, a Wyndham lawsuit that sued a law firm. They sued an exit company and a law firm. The marketing company is paired with a law firm that makes people think they're actually being really represented by a lawyer when they are not. And so did you get the impression that you were being represented by legal counsel?
Well, yeah, we were under the impression that, I mean, we never spoke to, I guess, the actual true lawyer, because every lawyer's office usually has, you know, paralegals or, you know, assistants or something. And so that's who we basically talked to, were members of that lawyer team. And we were thinking, well, we're paired up, because that's what we were told at that meeting, was you're going to be paired up with a lawyer and you're going to be represented, and they're going to do this for you.
But you never received a retainer, an agreement to
No,
retain Thompson and
no,
Associates.
no.
Yes. And you know, there was a Blue Green owner, Joan, we have the mutual friend of ours that is just really taken charge with these Blue Green suspensions. And she went to one of these meetings up north, postcard companies, road shows, and I forgot to get it, but our neighbor got a big postcard in the mail about coming to this exit company. And she was in the room with like 5 or 6 couples, and she was trying to tell them, do not do this. Come out to the parking lot. Let me talk to you. And they're like, no, 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 we're going to work with the professionals. And
Oh,
it's just out of control.
oh.
So now what
Well,
I'd like to, go ahead, Donnie.
I was going to say, you know, and it was just what I had emailed you a couple of weeks ago. My wife got another text exactly like the one we had gotten last November, December. I mean, another one. So I don't know if they don't know that we're Blue Green owners or not anymore, but I'm just saying, and it was another hotel in a suburb of Tulsa. So they're alive and well here doing these type of scams in the Tulsa area for Blue Green owners. I mean, they're,
Well,
you know,
yeah, and what was really amazing is tell me about your friends that responded to Omega.
well, they got a text just like we did, and they fell for it, and they went there, and but this company was something to do with Omega in their name. I don't know their real name, but they told them verbatim exactly what we were told. And I asked them, I said, "Where are they out of?" And she goes, "Well, I don't know." And our friend brought up this correspondence from him, and it's the exact same address in Cheyenne, Wyoming, that the CCA is from, and it's just a different suite number. So it's the same street name, same street number and name of the address, just the suite number is different. So it's almost as if they just are in a little outlet mall, and this is suite number 1 and this is suite number 2, and they could go right on down the line with different company names and different suite numbers, but they're saying the exact same thing. And they paid money as well that night, and they told them the exact same stuff to do that we did. Don't pay any more on your loan. You know, we're going to hook, and they also hooked them up with Thompson Associates and also the credit repair experts. So they did the exact same thing that they did to us.
Oh Good grief, I tell you. Now, before we jump into your actual blue-green complaint, where I want input from, look forward to input from Gary and Joan, one thing I forgot to mention was your background. So, as I understand it, you were 23 years with the Army, and you also served as a police officer. Give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah. So joined when I was like 18 and a half years old, 1992, active Army, did that for right under 7 years. ETS from the Army, went right into the Kansas Army National Guard, did the 2 weeks, 1 week in the month, 2 weeks a year type soldier with the National Guard for well over 2 years. And then I became active guard with the Kansas Army National Guard. And I did that for about 16 years. So I have so total I have 23 years in the military, 21 active.
Wow.
And I retired. And then while I was on retirement leave, I was in Tulsa Police Department's academy, the oldest in the academy that year in 2015, in my class. And then I just recently resigned on good terms in January 2022 to work for my brother. But that's my background.
And you had a top security clearance?
Yep, I sure did. At one point in time, when I was deployed to Djibouti, Africa in 2011 to 12, I had a top secret security clearance.
Well, and if this had happened to you when you were active duty, then you would be facing what some of our other guests are facing. You're finding your security clearance in jeopardy because of a timeshare loan default, which is just absolutely not right. Well, thank you for your service. And you have a fellow veteran with us today is Gary Harden. Gary, you're Navy vet, correct? Oh, I think Gary is muted. Gary, can you hear us?
Yes, maybe.
Yeah, we have, Gary has a little bit of audio transmission problems, so we've got him muted when he's not talking. And you're a Vietnam veteran, correct, Gary?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Now, this was the kind of the scaled down blue-green complaint, and I'm going to start with what I think is the least serious complaint that Donnie had. So the first one is that only owners can reserve and stay at blue-green properties. Now, that's another one of those where it's industry-wide, but if you take it a step further, you didn't mention this, but there's also times, and you can ask Joan with Blue Green or Gary with Wyndham, are there times where you can book cheaper online without being an owner? Joan?
I don't really know.
Okay. Okay, well.
Say it again, Irene.
What?
Say your question again.
There are complaints, especially with Wyndham. I'm following 12 Wyndham lawsuits where people who are not members or owners of the timeshare can go online and book for less money than someone that has spent thousands of dollars to become a member.
I don't know because with us Wyndham with the points, we don't pay any money to book anything.
Well, yes, but I always do my timeshare math. So that's.
I understand, and if you do that, the points for this resort will be less than the points for that resort.
No. I go to booking.com.
Right.
So when I did that, that's how I got myself into this in 2016. We had upgraded with Diamond Resorts because they were adding New York properties. There was nothing in the contract that said the word affiliate. So when I went to use points, it would have cost about $10,000 in equivalent maintenance fee dollars. And then I went to booking.com and I could book the same week for $3,000.
Oh.
Okay, now I've had good value. Sometimes I do my timeshare math just to double check and see, am I paying more than somebody that just goes straight to the internet and books through Expedia or something like that?
Well, the way our ownership works is we go to Wyndham site, we book the property with a certain amount of points for that stay. There's no cash, there's no money exchanged at all. You can't book that same week that we do for the equivalent amount of points. So if I might want to book Oceanside for a week, that might cost us 250,000 points. That does not equate to a dollar and cents value. You can book Oceanside for that for whatever rate you want to pay for it, whatever they can get for it. They have no way of calculating the difference between what our points are worth and what your dollars are worth at the same resort.
Yeah, you can. So for instance, I just booked at the Cove in Ormond Beach, and it costs so many points, and I pay, I think, 24 cents or 27 cents per point maintenance fees. So if it costs 1,000 points, or times 30 cents, and then I say, okay, so this is my maintenance fee equivalent dollar. Then I go to booking.com and I have to add on 13% tax and resort fees and taxes. And I compare that figure and this figure.
Well, our maintenance fees are static. We pay the same amount of maintenance fees every month, and we can book at any one of Wyndham resorts, period.
Yeah, but you can still compare what it costs you using points compared to what it would cost if you went online. It's dollar for dollar. You just multiply the number of points by the number of cents you pay in maintenance fees per point.
We are Club Wyndham Access. So
Right.
what that gives us is we get access to, we don't own at any one particular resort.
No,
So
of course.
our maintenance fees are the same every month for as long as we are our owners.
Yeah,
Now,
I understand that. Let me say, so
the
let's say,
maintenance fee for Oceanside is different than the maintenance fee for.
uh-oh.
We lost him.
Yeah, we lost Gary. Okay, so what
We'll
I
remove him, let him reset. We'll help him get his system a little bit better. Maybe I can take a little bit of time Saturday and help him. It looks like an internet problem, but
yeah, well, this is really important because I think like whatever resort he was talking about, that you have to know how much you pay in maintenance fees a year. And so you just take the number of points. I'll provide an example next week when we come back on it. Now, we had Destination. Jeremy's with us. Now, Terry McCain, while we're waiting for Gary to resurface, okay, Terry McCain said, do you think the timeshare companies and the exit companies are partners in crime? Well, this was kind of industry gossip, but there's an exit company in the Northeast that I'm told does have an arrangement with the developers to take back inventory. So that would take some inside information. And, okay, here's Destination. Jeremy's helping us out now, Gary. We always calculate our Wyndham needs at a per 1,000 point basis. Now, Jeremy, can you tell us how you would compare using your points compared to booking online? I would type that in, but I'll lose my train of thought here. But this is a very good discussion. So anyway, let's go ahead and
because what you're doing now is you're showing some solutions to some of the problems that are existing, and it is a bit of a math calculation. So
yeah, and we want Donnie. We want Donnie. The next step would be to file. First of all, I would definitely think you're entitled to asking for, if not all your money back, some of your money back. And then also to file a complaint with the Wyoming Attorney General. Okay, so here's our math question from Jeremy, who is a Club Wyndham member. So if our maintenance fees are $750 per 1,000 and it costs 100,000 points, then it is a $750 reservation with points. Then one can look at the cost of that same reservation on the different websites. So next week, we're going to have a specific example of trying to book. We're thinking of going to Sedona, Arizona. So I'm going to look and see how many points it would take. And then I'm going to go to booking.com and see what it would cost me there to compare those numbers. Let's go on to the next point here is if you trade in, okay, wait a minute. We were told, okay, here's the other point. Okay, I'm going to take off number 2. Okay, so we were
I
told.
thought we were going to give Donnie some steps. Were we going to give Donnie some steps?
Well, first of all, I want to go over his complaint.
Okay,
So
let's do that.
That's why we have Joan and Gary on here. We were told bonus nights would never go back past $80 per night. Blue Green raised those rates to $99 per night. Now, he felt that was a breach of contract, and I didn't think that was that serious because there's probably fine print that says they can raise benefits, edit or amend benefits at any time. Did you get a chance, Donnie, to review your contract and see if that was in there?
No, I didn't. But like I said, the contract that we initialed and signed, it says bonus points per night or bonus nights will range from $59 to $99 a night. And we were told again, but this is that oral, oh, we can tell you anything we want and we're not getting in trouble thing. And we were told when we bought that will never change, 59 to 99, depending on where you want to stay, bonus nights. And in February, we had gotten an email and it said, sorry, but we're raising bonus nights $30 across the board. So if it was $59.99, now it's going to be, $89.99. If it was $99 a night, now it's going to be $129 per night. And that was on the contract that we signed. Now there might be some smaller fine writing saying, yeah, we can raise rates, but that's exactly what we were also told. And that's what we signed off was bonus nights, 59 to 99. And
Yeah. And Joan, how do you feel about that?
Well, I'm just not going to pay for the bonus nights. They're just too high for me.
Well, my whole point was this: is it's not so much as the fighting. It's we're tired of. We went to a presentation. We were told this and this and this and this, and it's not even true. And they're saying, well, you can't hold us due to oral. We can basically say anything we want. Well, that's fine. But you're selling a product off of your salesman and they're lying out their teeth about certain things. And then you're like, well, okay, you don't have time to read the whole contract. It's a multiple page contract and you're signing it thinking, well, I'm signing what I see or what I can read in time. And then you're being told, nope, it's a lie and we can do with you whatever we want. And that's the problem that I have.
Well, let's jump to the really brazen that, well, first of all, your heirs would be responsible. But again, the oral representation is going to kick in. But the one that was very brazen is you're buying these points at a low price. We have ROFR, right of first refusal. That means if you want to sell to your neighbor, Blue Green can pick those up at the price whatever you offered your neighbor. And it's not such a bad thing, as we've explained before, that I know when I was briefly involved with Marriott resales and rentals, people wanted to sell their Aruba weeks for $10,000, and the offer that came in the next day was $11,000 because they were afraid if they did $10,000, Marriott would gobble up those weeks. So it supports the stock price. But in your case, it said you're in your 50s. By the time you're in the 70s, these points will be worth $5 or $6 per point. He said quietly, I'm not supposed to tell you this. So, Joan, do you know how much points sell for on resale with Blue Green?
I have a pretty good idea. I'll back it up. They've been selling as much as they can get per point all these years. On
resale, what would they sell for on resale?
Okay, you didn't want all these details. What I'm just trying to say is they are constantly up to no good. you're going to get anywhere from nothing on resale to, if you have like Big Cedar, $1 a point. So basically, you're either going to get nothing or you're going to get 30 cents a point or 50 cents a point. There is no way you're going to get your money back.
Right.
But they
Well,
will always tell you that you're going to get your money back.
yeah, how that went down was my wife and I were in front of him, and she was on her phone, and she was checking something on her phone. And then all of a sudden, I asked him. I said, "Well, hey," I said, we're close to our 50s now, and I said, I said, there's going to become a time where we may not be able to travel. I said, what do we do with these points? What do we do with this timeshare stuff? And he looked at my wife and he said, "You're not recording me, are you?" And my wife said, "No." And she put the phone down to where everyone could see she wasn't recording. And he said, "Well, I could get in trouble for telling you this." He said, "But you're in your 50s, or about, well, my wife was 50 and I was about to turn, 50 that year." And she said, or he said, "We have first right of refusal." And he said, "You're buying these points at like $1 something a point, whatever." He goes, "But by the time you're in your 70s and you want to sell, these will be $5, $6 a point." He said, "And we will buy those from you." He goes, "This is like an investment. You will make probably $20, $30, $40,000 on this deal." And he said that, and that's why he didn't want her recording, because he was like, "Well, I'll get in trouble if I tell you this." And my wife and I were like, "Well, this isn't a bad idea then. If we're going to buy this, and because we already had 15,000 every other year points paid off. They were wanting to up us to 20,000 per year points." And so we're like, "Well, why wouldn't we do this?" And then come to find out, of course, they don't have first right of refusal, and they don't buy the points like that and pay you out like that. Again, that was another lie that was told by one of their salesmen.
And what state did you buy in?
So what do you mean? Which state did we buy in?
What state did you buy the blue-green points? Where were you when you bought the points?
We were in Oklahoma. They came and done a road show. So Blue Green came to Tulsa, and that was a legit deal. They said, "Hey, this is now I say legit deal. When we first got that email, it was, "Hey, this is from Blue Green, and it was either email or phone call, and this is Blue Green, and we want to do an owner update." Now, they did not say this is an owner sales pitch for more points. They said an owner update. And they said, "We want to make sure that your name and address, phone number, all that's still correct." And we said, "Okay. And we're going to give you dinner for it as well, for spending your time." So we went to this hotel here in Tulsa, and we show up, and it was every bit of, "Hey, here's your food." Okay. While we're eating, yeah, "Hey, for about 2 or 3 minutes, is your name still this? Is your address still this? Your phone number still this?" "Yeah." "Hey, when you're done eating, don't mean to rush you, but we need to talk to you about your points." And we're like, "Well, okay." We go there and they're like, "Hey, you need to buy more points." And they go right into this spiel. That's
okay. But one thing I think, didn't I look up to see if Oklahoma is a one-party or a two-party state? I believe it's a one-party state, so you can record someone legally without the other person aware. I'll double check it. Florida is a two-party state, of course, where you cannot legally. Now, as far as oral representations, Gary, you fell victim to the oral representations as well. Have you heard any response from Wyndham about your complaints? And if I have it right, they sold you additional points to be able to rent out just like the Blue Green people?
Yes, that's true. And Wyndham they've responded, but not to anything pertinent to the complaint, like I sent you a couple of days ago.
So you sent them a report and they've ignored you?
Well, we sent the report to the Florida Attorney General, and the Florida Attorney General sent it to them. We got a response from Wyndham to that report, but it did not address any of our complaints. It was pretty much forwarding back to me or back to the Attorney General what our complaint was. So it's just
but you have not stopped payments?
No.
Well, okay. Well, Attorney Mike Finn was with us last week, and he said, if you're not going to stop making pay, and I certainly understand why someone is not in a position to be able to do that, but he said if you continue to make payments, they will ignore you forever. Now, Gary and Kim have talked to Norma, and this was a WorldMark sales agent, not Norma, that said that the Wyndham bought WorldMark. It used to be freestanding. That Wyndham agents lied to you, saying that if you didn't buy Wyndham points, you would lose Club Pass. And this was very important to them because he's been a pastor for 53 years, and they book Wyndham properties for their retreats using Club Pass. So we were on the phone 3 times with Wyndham, and they transferred us to owner resolution. So as Kim said, what are the steps? So we sent the report to Wyndham, and you know you're getting somewhere if you get someone that you can actually email back. So they said you must reply to this exact email with this subject line. She did 3 times. And then Friday, we got on the phone and we talked to the person, and we said, please transfer us to this person that said, and the third time she stayed on the phone to make sure that that report had been received. They said, yes, we received it. About an hour later, first of all, we got transferred to a survey and cut off. And then about an hour later, they sent her an email addressed to Shirlene, which bears no resemblance to the name Norma, saying, we're sorry, but we've attempted to contact you and you're not in the, you haven't responded. So it's like, and the name of this department is Wyndham Cares. It's just ridiculous. So now, where do we go from here? So Donnie, and it takes some time to do this. It's like a part-time job. So you will, number one, Blue Green sounds like it's kind of a done deal. You're charged off. And I'd also like to mention the difference between Blue Green and all the other developers is that Blue Green, Attorney Mike Finn's firm in 2014 or 15, sued Blue Green and Experian or Equifax, I forget which one. But as a result of that lawsuit, Blue Green had to remove foreclosure from 11,000 accounts, and they could not call a default a foreclosure going forward. So it's charged off or settled for less. You said you have gotten that charge off notice, Donnie?
It's on my credit report. Yeah, it's charged off.
Okay, so that's less damaging, but it's still damaging. So there's really not much to be done about Blue Green, except join Joan's effort to be a cheerleader on our Facebook groups. That because sometimes you go to a lawyer and they don't file attorney generals, they don't file BBB. And for instance, Westgate, the volunteers with Westgate did a public records request with the Florida Attorney General. Westgate had 585 complaints, and nearly half of them were about this rental scam. Okay, so the next step would be to reach out to the corporate, what are their names? Corporate consulting associates, and tell them that you want your money back. And then also because you paid corporate consulting associates, not the law firm.
Right.
And they're going to argue that they did some work. Now,
Right.
One of the producers of the Pod TV is an attorney, and he's been on our show with the other attorneys as well. But what we want to find out is there a complaint that you can file against Thompson's and Associates? Now, typically, you want to give people a chance to do the right thing before you go filing all these complaints. So Kim, I think our next step with Norma is for you to reach out to Wyndham Media like you did on behalf of another guest that we had prior. if you can do that. And then, so you have the Wyoming Attorney General. Then you have what state were they in? New Jersey, Thompson and Associates?
New Jersey, yeah.
Okay, so then you would compose a letter to them and email it. Yeah, you could send a certified return receipt if you wanted to, but they're probably just going to say no anyway. So with the other two instances that I talked about, both of those are reaching an agreement to receive a partial refund. They'll argue that they did do some work. So are you willing to put in the time and effort to do that?
Oh, yeah. I will definitely write those letters and those complaints. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll have our volunteers review it. Now, destination timeshare. Timeshare exit companies consider a foreclosure a successful exit. This is the one main thing that got Timeshare Exit Team shut down. And it's not just Timeshare Exit Team, it's all of I have so many on here that, in the last 60 days, that's the reason we're devoting so much time to this, is in the last 60 days, there's been $146,000 that has been paid to these exit companies for no reason. And Jeremy mentioned Timeshare Exit Team. In the early days, some of these companies were able to help people, but then at the trial I attended in 2018, Wyndham and the other developers, they sit around a conference table, decide that they are going to completely ignore the exit company and the law firm. Even cease and desist letters, they testified, were ignored. So Timeshare Exit Team was endorsed by Dave Ramsey. His fans have sued him for $150 million because they said he did not disclose that he was paid. I think he did, but I'm following along with that as well. So Joan, let us know, are you planning to just with Blue Green, just make the best of it? What are your plans? Are you going to stay with them, or are you going to
do not know, just don't know what to do.
How many points?
I know that mine's not worth anything because that salesman talked me into trading all mine in to a place that's not even listed as a place to rent. So it's probably 100-year-old building. I don't know. So mine's worth nothing,
Do you have points?
Mm-hmm.
How many points do you have?
I've probably got 38,000 a year. I'm gold level.
Now, because you can't compare how many points. Gary, how many Wyndham points do you have? Oh, he's muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Try
That's
again.
okay.
Try again.
808,000.
How many?
808,000.
808,000 points.
Well, the problem is, this is another problem, and Jeremy from Timeshare Destination will have something to say, is one Blue Green point is not the same as one Wyndham point. So, it may take, like with Marriott, I think you can stay 1 week for 4,000 points. How many points does it take to stay a week on average with Wyndham?
It depends on the resort. Like Oceanside, I could probably get that for 200,000 points right now, but in December it might be 189,000 points. It just depends on the resort and the time of year.
And Joan, how many weeks on average would it take to stay, say, maybe not at the best resort with Blue Green, but an average resort?
Well, if I went to Panama City Beach for a week in a 2-bedroom, it would be 9,000 points.
9,000
points. No comparison to those points.
Exactly. Now, we have had in the past, we've had guests that are in the resale business. These are legitimate people. Most of them, some states you don't have to be licensed, but they are in states where you do, they have a real estate license. And if you call them about Club Exploria or Vacation Village, most of them will say, I don't even want to list it. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of mine. You don't pay them unless they find a buyer. The other thing you have to be really wary of are the listing agencies where they charge you upfront money to list because they've got their money. And this is where we had Judy on the show before. She's a widow and she listed with a listing agency. And that's when they said, she said, is $1 a point sound like it's okay? That sounds like a good starting point. Her points were selling between 10 cents and 30 cents a point. So it's another thing that you just have to be aware of. Now, Kimberly, next week, we are going to do a show just about lending. And we have a CPA who is lobbying on about capital vacations. His dispute is with where his elderly parents that can't travel anymore, heart problem, cannot book anymore. And then another person on the show who works in lending is Katie Holloway. She's sister-in-law to Natalie Holloway that was murdered in Aruba that you most people will probably remember. So we have then so Capital Resorts, both of them are with Capital. Joan, you own Capital at Capital as well, correct?
Right.
Okay, now how you were sharing your thoughts about them earlier before we went on stage here. How do you feel about Capital Resorts?
But I don't like them.
So is it because of the sales tactics?
The sales tactic, well, yeah, the sales tactics are bad. The resorts that I can afford are not very nice. So, I mean, I've got probably $25,000 in it plus 12 or 1,300 a year, but I can't book but like 4 one-bedroom units in a cheap place for maybe 2 weeks worth, whole year.
Well, I don't, you know me, I do math on a lot of things, and I got into mine by a pure intoxicated incident. As we say, you know, sometimes too much drinking gets you into a lot of trouble. And I got way into deep, but the thing is that I do the math and I realize I can travel twice as luxurious to anywhere in the world and stay anywhere in the world, not where their resorts are, but anywhere I want for a fraction of the cost of what people have been paying for their timeshares. Not putting it down. I'm sure it feels homey and good to be able to pick up that phone and say, hey, this is who I am, and I'm going to come there. And maybe you know some of the people when you get there because it's a frequent spot. But I've learned really quick, one, they were never available when I needed them, even though I bought it in Talks, never available. They did not go to the places I went, and the little app that they gave me that said that I could book a certain kind of hotel anywhere in the world I wanted at their discounted rate of $30, $40 a night never worked. You know, they put it on my phone and everything. I was so intoxicated, I actually let somebody take my phone and put an app on it. That never happens. I'm an engineer from the cybersecurity world. So, I mean, I'm just like, yeah, go ahead, you know. Next thing
we're 1 minute to close. 1 minute away, but I will say that there are 7 million people that at least 7 million that would disagree with you, Kim. There are many people that have found good value. So it's whatever.
Like I'm saying, there are many people who love the hominess and everything else. I just found that I travel so much more luxurious without it. So, but we need to wrap. And Irene, I love this show. I'm gonna look forward to next week. Maybe we'll get Kelly on the show as well,
I
because
was
I want her
hoping
to
your sister.
yeah, and we'll get the two of those lending experts on. Meanwhile, everyone, be safe. Don't go to exit companies. Come here first and talk with us. And if you need an exit company, Irene has a list of reputable ones that are not going to screw you. But right now, what we need are more voices to help us, because as an advocate group, we need those extra voices, because the more people we have behind us, the more powerful we are, and we can get these resolutions done. Take care.
And thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.